Franco-German Tiger attack helicopter was supposed to be the European response to the US Apache, or at least to the Cobra. After 20 years in service, it started showing signs of its commercial viability ending. First, Australia decided to replace their Tigers with Apaches just 20 years after they bought them and 10 years after the last helicopter was delivered. Both Germany and France had slashed the numbers planned for procurement over the years. Finally, in March of this year, rumors emerged about Germany planning to retire their Tigers altogether and replacing them with the civilian-grade helicopters. So, is Tiger dying a slow death? Let's find out. Back to our topic. On top of everything said in the intro, the very latest piece of news, dating May 6th, is that French Army General Pierre Schill told the Parliament's Defense Committee that the Tiger III program has been suspended indefinitely. Tiger III was supposed to be a big, important midlife upgrade for the French and Spanish Tiger attack helicopters, where 62 helicopters would be upgraded for the sum of $4.4 billion, with that amount possibly covering just half of the final modernization costs. That remains unclear. Tiger III upgrade was launched in early 2022, and by December of 2022, Airbus Helicopters still publicly stated they hope Germany will come on board the program and modernize their Tigers as well, because if another large user comes in, development costs can be spread out and everyone pays less in the end. But Germany remained silent, and by March of this year, French army sources questioned whether everything planned for Mark III Tiger is really necessary. Then, as we mentioned, in mid-March came news articles, for example reported by Reuters, where unnamed German army officials said plans exist within Germany's defense ministry to retire their entire Tiger helicopter fleet early and replace them with H-145M almost civilian-grade helicopters. Said helicopter model is a slightly militarized version of the H-145 without the M. It's a proven design in service from early 2000s, with over 1,500 airframes sold to various commercial and government users. The US Army UH-72 Lakota is, for example, based on the very same helicopter. The US has so far ordered almost 500 Lakotas, though they are not using them for combat roles. The H-145 itself is really a renamed and updated BK-117, originally designed by MBB and Kawasaki, which is a 1970s design with many airframes sold, and which itself has some design heritage stemming from the MBB Bo 105, a 1960s design which German Army of the Cold War used in combat roles. Back then in 1975, they did not use dedicated attack helicopters, but decided to mount sensors and missiles on those light civilian-grade helicopters. The alleged plans for the H-145M buy is to cover a larger fleet to cover a larger set of needs. 82 helicopters might be bought for $3.3 billion, of which 24 would be modified with sensors and other electronics and have anti-tank missiles integrated to them. Germany currently has 51 Tiger attack helicopters in service, on paper, but due to maintenance issues and budget issues, actual availability of the fleet is much lower. In 2019, a report published by the German newspaper Bild said that 8 out of then available 53 Tigers were operational. Things did not improve by 2022. In April of that year, Germany's defense minister said only 9 out of 51 Tiger attack helicopters were operational. So it doesn't really come as a surprise that Germany would like to get rid of the Tigers. Part of Germany's dissatisfaction with Tigers may be the performance of its main anti-tank missile, which is a crucial piece of equipment for most attack helicopters. As the Tiger first entered service, it was armed with Hot 3 missiles, which were already behind the times in early 2000s, as they were roughly comparable to US TOW missiles. They are not fire-and-forget missiles, but France and Germany were developing the Pars 3 missile, also known as Trigat. Indeed, that missile was in development for over 20 years. France withdrew from the program in 2004, but Germany persevered, ordering almost 700 missiles a few years later. The missile finally started getting delivered around 2012, and larger quantities arrived around 2015. But it seems to this day its performance issues have not been fixed. In April of 2019, a report by Germany's Federal Court of Auditors emerged. The missile failed an operational test. It was labeled as technologically outdated and inaccurate. It's also unable to be fired in salvos, where multiple missiles are fired at the same time. A 2018 test had just 16% of missiles hit their designated targets. There were 12 operational scenarios tested, and the missile passed in just one scenario. Damningly, the report said that due to considerable technical deficits of both the missile and the weapon system on the helicopter, no significant improvements in hit probabilities can be expected. In contrast to that, the French and Australians have integrated the US-made Hellfire missiles to their Tigers. So, due to all the issues, significant new investments would have to be made to turn German Tigers into effective attack helicopters. Understandably, Germany seems to be seeking other non-Tiger related options. Australia, another Tiger user, has a somewhat different story. It too said its Tiger fleet suffers from low availability rates, though there have been arguments between the manufacturer and Australia as to just why that is, with some putting most of the blame on the logistics program of the Australian Army. Currently, the availability rate is quite decent at 70%, though in previous years it was lower. In early 2019, Australia decided it really wanted a more potent helicopter. Ultimately, in January 2021, they chose the US Apache. Politics, as usual, may have played a role, as US may have sought to tie themselves more with Australia. But given the issues Australia had or seemed to have with Tigers, and given that Tiger is a smaller and less potent helicopter than the Apache, there's really not much Tiger could have done when competing with the Apache. A smaller helicopter generally means less payload available to go around, either for weapons, for sensors, or for fuel, meaning range or flight endurance. Two remaining Tiger users are France, one of the original developers, and Spain, which was not originally part of the program, but after the 2003 deal became a junior partner, not just a mere user. Coincidentally, Spain had decided to integrate another ready-made missile onto their Tigers, the Israeli-made Spike anti-tank missile. The Tiger Mark III update was supposed to bring many novelties, one of which was to be a brand new missile, the French Acheron. It's not clear whether Spain would also use that missile on their Tigers, as Spain also had some of its own systems prepped for the Tigers. For example, battle management systems would be different on Mark III French and Spanish aircraft. The Acheron missile itself seems fairly safe, as it is a larger program going beyond just the Tiger, and lighter versions of it have already been in use for years. And of course, a next-generation sight is needed as well, so Safran's Strix NG product is likely going to get bought eventually. But it's much less certain that everything else in the Mark III Tiger is actually going to reach the battlefield. So a new avionics suite, a new helmet-mounted sight display, new navigation and communication suites remain questionable, especially the complex data link system meant to team unnamed aircraft and drones with the helicopter. Before the Mark III plans fell through, Spain was supposed to modernize 18 of their helicopters. While Spain had originally ordered 24 helicopters, it has since retired 6, and it doesn't seem as if the recent war and geopolitical shifts have made them reconsider those plans. France is in the process of repurposing all of their remaining HAP variant helicopters into HAD variants. The latter can use anti-tank missiles, while the former is a more general support variant. Mark III plans had 42 of those HAD variants to be modernized, with possibly up to 25 more to be added to the list in the future. 67 helicopters would represent the entire French attack helicopter fleet. But right now, after all these developments, who knows what the future will bring. With so few users and low airframe numbers, upkeeping the Tiger fleet is not going to be cheap. Chances that any new country will buy Tigers seem very low. Tiger has competed in many countries but did not secure any deals, save for a very short-lived Saudi Arabia deal which was cancelled even before it materialized. In almost all of those competitions, the US Apache emerged victorious. Part of that could be, of course, politics and US stronger influence, but the fact remains Apache won much more often, even over the US-owned Viper attack helicopter. It could be that most users simply don't regard medium-class attack helicopters as cost-effective. Even the somewhat heavier Viper isn't more successful than the Tiger. The current war with Russia certainly doesn't seem to favor attack helicopters, so even going down the opposite route of not using armored dedicated attack helicopters at all is not out of the question. Germany seems to be mulling just that with their H145M proposition. And Japan's military is also thinking of retiring their entire attack and armed scout helicopter fleet and replacing it with various unmanned aircraft. So the part of the Tiger's bleak future may in fact be part of the wider bleak future of all the attack helicopters. We actually made a video on that, so feel free to check it out. The link should be in the video description. What will happen of the Tiger remains to be seen, but unlike with the Apache, which is still being sold to various countries, it appears Tiger's best years are behind it. And remember, Binkov may talk about war, but only real peace can bring us all together.